In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light. That's right, we're talking Green Lanterns today. I got my It Ain't Easy Being Green, my green shirt, and we're gonna be talking about it with my buddy Matt Coker. Now, I am remiss, I am upset that I have not released this sooner. I recorded this way long ago and just did not have the focus necessary to put a good episode out. And so I am glad to be able to share with you, because this has been one of my favorite interviews. It is fantastic. You're going to love it. But before we get into that, we're going to do a few nerdy recommendations. It's been a minute, 2 months by my YouTube calendar. And so there's some things I want to share just recently, being on Christmas break, that I want to share with you that I am reading, watching, and playing. And so listen up. First, reading 3 things. 1, Mythmakers by John Hendrix. It is a graphic novelization of the relationship between C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, told by a lion in a cardigan and a wizard who goes by Ron. And it's an excellent book. It's a sad book. It's a wonderful book. It's a well-told book. I encourage you to check it out. I heard of it in several other podcasts, and it was highly recommended, and I'm just going to carry that on and say, yes, it is. I enjoyed it so much. I put his other book on about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I put that on my Christmas list. I got that this year, and so looking forward to reading that soon. So I'll let you know how that one goes in a little bit. But Mythmakers by John Hendrix. Check it out. If you enjoy Chronicles of Narnia, if you enjoy Lord of the Rings, if you enjoy good, healthy friendships and relationships and the complexities there, this is the book for you. It's excellent. Second one is a throwback. I was reading again a book that I read a long time ago. I was talking to my brother over Christmas break, and I said, you got to check these books out. They're pretty fantastic. They're the Magic 2.0 books. The first one is called Off to Be the Wizard, and these are by Scott Meyer. And the basic premise is that somebody finds a file that they can edit that proves that our world is a simulation, that we're living in a computer program. I don't actually believe we live in a computer program, but it's an awesome premise and a fun book to read. He starts by correcting his height on this computer file. He thinks that it's just somebody that's just stored his information, and it says 5'10", I think, whatever it is, and or maybe it's 5'11", and he knows that's his actual height, but he's always put 6'1" on all his IDs, so he changes it to 6'1", and then he can see over the top of his mirror, and he's noticing all these things he hasn't seen before, because how he changed the file in the computer changes real life. And so he ends up needing to escape to the Middle Ages, escape to medieval England, and while there learns that he wasn't the only one with that idea. So check out the books. They're fantastic. Just finished the first one. Now I feel like I got to listen to all the rest of them all over again. There's several of them, so check those out. And finally, a book called Blizzard. It's a graphic novel, trade paperback. Actually, I think it was a trade paperback, because I think it was probably released as one, but it doesn't matter. But it's Ghost Machine. It's one of the Ghost Machine books. It's actually one of the first Ghost Machine books that I had not read and saw, and I was like, well, I've got to complete my collection. And it follows a group of prisoners that are trying to escape this monster in the blizzard. And it was a good ride. It was a good ride. Like the other Ghost Machine stuff, the art is beautiful. There's even an appearance by one of our favorite Ghost Machine characters, and I won't tell you which one. You'll figure it out pretty quick if you read the book. But yeah, just a nice, easy trade paperback to read on the day after Christmas while I'm sitting there wanting to do nothing else. So those are the things that I'm reading. Several other books I got for Christmas that I will be talking about in future weeks. But for right now, that's where we're going to stop for reading. Watching, I've been rewatching The New Girl, and watching Office Superfan episodes, and I just love those shows. I really do. I'm going to need to put Parks and Rec into that rotation as well, because those 3 just make me laugh. They just make me laugh, and I enjoy laughing. So I've been watching those. Also, want to say that I've enjoyed Skeleton Crew. I was hanging out with my brother, and he's like, this show is awful. It's like it was made for kids. And it was made for kids. It is definitely a kid's show. And so me and my kids and my wife are enjoying watching this show because it is family friendly and we can enjoy it. And so we have enjoyed following those little adventures. And in fact, was watching it and I thought, you know what? We need to watch Treasure Island. It's been a while since we watched Treasure Island. There's given some really good Treasure Island vibes here. But that's on Disney Plus, so feel free to hop over there and check that out. The last one, this is definitely not a family-friendly suggestion, but I've been watching the last season of The Umbrella Academy, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't like content-wise, but I was telling my wife I must be a glutton for punishment, because I'm watching season 4's episode 2, and they're on this road trip, and they're siblings, and they're arguing and fighting and picking at each other, and just having a miserable time. And I thought, I want to do this with my brothers and sisters. I want to have a miserable time with them. And she says, only you would want to have a miserable time with people. And it just looked like it's just been so good. The dynamics there, these relationships, how they interact, this season's really good. I think it's the last season, and I've just enjoyed watching that. I'm, I think, through episode 4. I think there's 2 more left. Maybe I'll finish that up tonight and tomorrow. We'll see. But those are the things that I have been watching. As far as playing goes, I have been playing Hogwarts Legacy. I am, I don't know, probably 2/3 of the way through the story. And as far as challenges go, I think I'm at like 92% of the actual challenges done. And so I've been doing a lot of the side quests and things. I like just strolling through a game, it being so simple because you're already the top level. And so that's what I'm doing, getting close to that. I'm a Ravenclaw, in case you're wondering. My character's name is Seamus O'Houlihan, because why not? And yeah, so I'm enjoying that. I'll finish that soon and share my thoughts on it as a whole later. Also, for Christmas this year, I got the game Horrified, but it's the Greek Mythology edition. And so Horrified is you versus a bunch of monsters. And the original was the universal monsters like Dracula and Creature from Black Lagoon and so on and so forth. This one is Greek mythological monsters, and you are playing cooperatively with your other players. You can do it solo or with like 4 of your friends, and you take up mantles that we see in Greek mythology stories, you know, like the actor and the shepherd and the traveler and things like that, kind of archetypes, and you're aiding the gods in defeating these monsters. I like cooperative games with my kids because we're all on the same team, and at the end we're all still in a good mood and no one's like been destroyed. So that's really good. I enjoy that. It had I really felt like a kind of a Clash of the Titans kind of feel, like as we were having to get heroes and rescue them and things like that. So check it out if that sounds interesting to you. If you like cooperative games, definitely strategy driven. It feels really overwhelming at the beginning, but once you get through like 1 or 2 turns, you just keep moving. You keep going because it just makes sense. It makes sense kind of how the things play out. And that's by is it Ravensburger? I think it's Ravensburger. But you'll find it. Horrified, Greek mythology. I'll try and put some links in the notes so you can find those things. The last thing is something I am not playing. I had fully intended on buying myself a new, and by new I mean an old Xbox Series X or Series S. And I just really couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm going to talk about it after the interview. About my goals this year, and I really felt like a new Xbox would hinder those goals. I would find myself on the couch far too often, and so I ended up not doing that. So I do have some new games to play on my old Xbox, but trying to get some good focus in this year. So, but that's what I've been reading, watching, or playing. What about you? Anything you would recommend that we should check out, that we should talk about, do an interview on? Would love to hear from you on those things. Make sure you put those suggestions in the comments so we can talk about that. And I think that's it for the first little segment here. So let's get nerdy. What's up, nerds? Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I am here with Matt Coker from Love Thy Nerd. He's going to tell you more about what he does for Love Thy Nerd later, but first, we want to get to know Matt. Matt, I'm glad to have you on, man.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Matt was my boss when I was editing the Free Play podcast, and frequently I would have, hey, you going to have that ready for us by the deadline? And I would go, sure thing. I will get that taken care of right now. But yeah, and so I love trying to find either really nerddoms that I don't understand, finding people who love them and go, hey, tell me about it. So we're going to talk about one of your favorites, the Green Lantern and Lantern Corps in general. But before we get there, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life now. Something that's life-giving going on, an exciting thing that is happening in the Coker household or in Love Thy Nerddom or whatever. Something that you go, man, this is really, lighting my candle right now.
Honestly, that question would be so different just a few months ago, but right now it's actually not in the nerddom space. I also work for a church, and it's the church that I've gone to since I was 14. Church I met my wife at, church got married at, church I've been going to, I've been working at now for over a decade, and I'm almost 39 years old. And I gotta say, up until like the last 3 years, I've still felt like a child.
Okay.
When working there compared to everybody else.
10-4, yeah.
Felt very, very imposter syndrome when it comes to being a leader in like ministry and things like that. And so this last year has really been a situation where all of us around the same age that have been working there are now in charge of the church. Okay. One of us is the pastor now,
yeah,
and it's my peer group, and that's never been the case before. And so I'm excited getting to kind of step up into a bigger role at the church and help manage the direction it's going and seeing how God's moving, and praying with the leadership in a way that actually feels meaningful and those kind of things. So really, it's just getting to get deeper into church ministry.
Okay. What's your specific title, or your what you're over there at the church?
I'm the media director at the church.
There you go. Okay.
Just that like works. I am.
One trick pony, man. Like, you know what you know, and we're going for it. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. No, I love that, man. I love that. It's like the next generation, man. You are stepping into, I'm sure, big shoes, and that's, I'm sure, a big challenge.
That's what it feels like, yeah.
I was at our previous church for, we had been going to church for 18 years. I was on staff for 16, and I remember getting really frustrated one time because someone wasn't taking me seriously, and a wise mentor said they see the 21-year-old you that showed up, not the almost 40-year-old. Like, that's the picture in their frame, in their minds. And so I was like, oh, okay, got it. So that's really cool, though, that you guys have grown up there and are taking that on. That is wonderful equipping and enabling of those in the church to be the church and love the church and serve the church. So love that. So the next question that I like asking our guests are, besides what we're talking about, Green Lantern and the Lantern Corps, what are some other, these are my big nerdy interests? Like, these are the ones that I'm like, yes, I consume these, I enjoy these. Man, that is quite the Funko Pop collection in the back there. Loving it. That's something.
Yeah, that's almost a wall of shame just for how much money I put into that. And it used to be twice as big, honestly. I was, and it's kind of sad. I was going through like a season of like depression, high anxiety, and stuff like that, and that was my vice of choice, was to addictively spend.
Okay.
And so I was buying every Funko Pop of every license that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so eventually I had to make a deal with my wife to not do that anymore. And part of that was giving away all but a few specific series. So I have DC Comics, I have the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I have WWE, which I'm a big WWE guy. If you were talking about passion, nerd culture passions here. WWE, Doctor Who also, and just a few sporadic here and there.
I got you.
I got Zoidberg up there and a couple of those special meme ones. But yeah, I mean, collecting is a big thing. I do collect predominantly Green Lantern stuff. Once we moved them in here, I intermixed everything. But in previous setups, I'd had everything separated by not only the license but the character, and so the Green Lantern section was gigantic.
Nice.
But yeah, I would say if we're going my top nerdy stuff, it would be Doctor Who, WWE, DC Comics in general, and like Star Trek.
Yeah.
pretty much all around every
Okay.
single Star Trek show.
So real quick, Doctor Who. So I watched all the way up until towards the end of Jodie Whittaker's time there. I watched the first episode of the new guy whose name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. It was a definite different feel than the rest that I've seen. Are you caught up there? Did they go in a different social direction with this new one, or was it just that first episode where it felt like that was being hit over and over again?
I loved Jodie Whittaker in the role.
Mm-hmm.
I hated what they did to the story and the lore of Doctor Who, because no matter how many excuses were given about how it's fine, we're going in this new direction, or whatever, it erased the entire storyline that we had come to know as the truth. All, not just from the beginning, the restart in 2005, but all the way from the beginning of the show. And I couldn't accept that.
Okay.
And a lot of Doctor Who fans are the same way. It's like I can't now completely erase all the lore of Doctor Who as just built upon a lie and have to start fresh with a whole new storyline, a whole new backstory of how this started. There's who knows how many doctors in the past that she has forgotten she's ever been. And like I couldn't. It wasn't an anger thing. A lot of people, it was an anger thing.
Right.
For me, it was just like no, this is fine. This is an okay place to stop.
I got you. I got you.
And I will tell you the same thing happened with the Green Lantern comic story, which we'll talk about.
Okay. All right.
But like, so I liked Jodie Whittaker. I did watch all of Jodie Whittaker's run. I just had to accept it as a different show.
So
I had to accept it as a new take on Doctor Who and not a continuation of the main story.
Well, to maybe make you feel a little better, I watched the first episode of the new season, and while the adventure, I was like, okay, I'm good with this adventure. The wrappings in it felt like a new studio had picked it up, and it was going in a very different direction. So, but again, I've only seen the first episode, so
I watched the specials that came out on
Okay.
Disney Plus. I have not seen the new season. I'm sure I will watch it.
it'll wear you down. There'll be something that gets you a
but
little
it's,
curious. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's got to just be a new thing.
I got you.
Which,
I got you.
which, to your point, is they are renaming this season 1, so this is like the third generation now.
Right.
This is the relaunch, and so it will feel different because Disney's putting dollars behind it, and BBC is on its way out. Honestly, BBC One, I believe that's the whole reason Doctor Who is partnered with Disney, is because BBC One is afraid it's not going to be around much longer to fund it. So. It's what happens.
Yeah.
And Disney, for better or for worse, will own everything one day. So we just have to live with it.
I have to live with it. So cool. So today's topic, we're talking Green Lantern. We're talking the Lantern Corps in general. I will share my history with it, limited as it may be, but I would love for you to give just a synopsis of what we're talking about, why it is, integral to who Matt Coker is, and any other little tidbits you want to share about that would be fantastic.
So I was always a fan of comic books, but just in a general sense, as you are when you're a kid. I remember 5 different comic books I had as a kid, and that's about it. But I got into Green Lantern because of the Infinite Crisis storyline that showcased Superboy Prime. And I wanted to follow Superboy Prime's storyline. He's this weird villain that is like the only superhero on his Earth. And his Earth is our Earth. Like, this is where we live. He comes from there. And that led me to his villainous run as a part of the Sinestro Corps War. And so the Green Lantern storyline from the beginning was not including like the original Green Lantern, who was a whole different storyline, Alan Scott. But with Hal Jordan's storyline, it is space cops. I mean, it is a massive team of police that are paired to a sector in space, who basically just protect that sector from space threats. And for the longest time, that's all it was. And then in the early 2000s, Jeff Johns, who is DC Comics royalty, picked up the storyline as the main writer and overarching the whole like core set of comics, and interlaced this entire emotional spectrum storyline so cleanly with the original lore of the Lanterns, explaining things from the past of the story, like why Green Lanterns couldn't use their rings on things that were yellow. He actually wove that into a massive reason why. Hal Jordan goes crazy in the 90s and becomes a villain called Parallax. And then it's never explained, and he's gone, and he's gone for a long time, and he's dead. He brings him back to life and basically resurrects a dead IP at this point, and makes this massive 10-year run of just the most beautiful, comprehensive story for the Green Lanterns that ended in 2014, that has become the reason that Green Lantern was getting a major push again in not just comic books, but in society. We saw more Green Lantern. Like, I have a bunch of, you can't see him in my photo here, but I got like a bunch of old paintings and stuff that you get like at Hobby Lobby, and things that have superheroes on them. Green Lantern's not on it.
Right.
Never has been. He's always been like the seventh member of Justice League. Sometimes he's been up there with the Flash, but like he's usually the guy that's behind. He was left out of the movie.
Right.
He was the one of the seven that they're like, we don't need a Green Lantern in this movie. But for a very short period of time, he was the leading man. And they tried to capitalize on it. I'm going to go into 1,000 different things. How did you think we were going to do this?
Listen, you're doing great. You're doing fantastic. So, okay, couple things. I'm never going to
be able to stop.
One thing. So, I'm sure that you've seen the Snyder Cut, Justice League Snyder Cut.
Yes.
And there was a little bit of hint there of where they were going to introduce Green Lantern, which would have been exciting. They have
the deleted scene out there too. I've seen it.
So, and then there's the much maligned Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, and that could have been another reason why we didn't want to pull him in. Listen, I've got a really strong pain tolerance for cheese, so I'm like, I'm in. I'm good. Let's watch it again. Whatever. I'm not a movie critic, so I'm probably not the best one there. But I love where you're talking about the emotional spectrum. My experience with Green Lantern, I didn't even really think much about Green Lantern until the Justice League cartoon from Cartoon Network, and it was Jon Stewart. It wasn't even Hal Jordan. So Jon Stewart was my first introduction. Not first, but like where I got to know the character.
Most of our generation.
Yeah, I got to know the character. I got to see, and so like that, I experienced that and enjoyed that. And then in Lego Batman 3, that the Green Lanterns are a big part of, or the Lantern Corps is a big part of that story, and going to the different planets and experiencing those emotions and them all getting mixed up. So that's really the beginning of me interacting with Green Lantern and the emotional spectrum. And so I have since read several comic storylines, like the New 52 Justice League run. I read the entire New 52 Justice League run. I loved it. With Jessica Cruz, and so I've experienced that. My brother, for my graduation with my master's degree, he got me a year of random comics shipped to my house, and it was like every month there was 15, 20 issues on my doorstep, and there was a lot of really good Green Lantern ones in there. So I kept them aside. I would like to go back and read these storylines. But I'm just not as familiar with. I mean, I know pieces. So when you say Parallax, I know what you're talking about, and I know the yellow spectrum. And I've looked at some of the old stuff with Alan Scott where he couldn't touch anything yellow or whatever it was. Like it was the color and not the emotion.
Alan Scott was wood. He couldn't use his ring on wood.
That's right. Like Doctor Who, they were just trying to rip off Doctor Who, man. That was it. So But for you, the emotional spectrum, is obviously very important to you because your music persona is the White Lantern. So tell me about the White Lantern. Tell me about your music in that realm, and why this played such an important piece in your life that you tied yourself to the White Lantern Corps. I love the Todd Turner original in the background. I see it there over your shoulder. Mine's right there. There's mine. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep,
So
it's nice. Yep.
so tell me about it, man.
In this storyline, this 10-year storyline from Jeff Johns, he introduced slowly the emotional spectrum. And the first one was the Sinestro Corps, because Sinestro being the main villain of Hal Jordan, he begins to create his own corps. He's had his own yellow ring for ages, but he decides, I'm going to have my own team of antimatter space cops. And so he creates the Sinestro Corps, which is yellow, fueled by fear, green, fueled by willpower. Those are the first two colors. Then we found out that there's this whole religious sect of Blue Lanterns who on their own can't do much, but when they're tied together with Will, they're supercharged. They're really strong. The Green Lanterns are twice as powerful as they normally are. It's a really cool story of marrying hope and willpower. There's so much religious overtones, by the way, to all these lanterns. We're actually doing a 10-part article series at lovethynerd.com about this too. That's coming out still for, I'm sure by the time this is out, they're all there. So go check it out. But then we find the Orange Lantern. Orange Lantern, Agent Orange, is just one guy, Larfleeze, and it's avarice, it's greed, and he's the only lantern. But he has taken the lives of so many people who have been trying to come for his orange power that they have become his core. So his entire core is constructs that he makes from the ring. And his ring is like 10,000 times more powerful than a Green Lantern ring, which is ridiculous. Move on to the Violet Lanterns of Star Sapphires, which have been around, but they become their own core as well. The Indigo Tribe, which is basically a bunch of reformed convicts who are trying to live a life of compassion, and they can tap into the other colors of the spectrum and use their powers, and that's really neat. We have the Red Lanterns, which have been the most prominent, I think, of the new lanterns, the
Atrocitus,
the Lego movie that
Dexter,
you said, but they were also in that. Yeah, they were also heavily featured in the Green Lantern animated series that ran, I think, just one season, but like the CG animated Green Lantern series. Atrocitus being the leader of that, and those are fueled by rage, but even that can be quelled by hope and all this. It's just a beautiful story. You get all 7 of these lantern tribes that come up. They're all infighting or saving each other and vice versa, having to make alliances here and there to fight different bad guys. But then we get what became the big universe breaking story for DC Universe, for DC Comics. I think it was 2010 or 11, which was Blackest Night. And so in the DC Comics Oath, the Green Lantern Oath, it's, in Brightest Day and Blackest Night is how it starts.
Right.
And, that's their rain, wind, snow or sleet kind of oath, and no matter what, we'll be there. We have Blackest Night, which is like the zombie uprising in the DCU. Every villain, every hero that has died is brought back to life as this zombie horde army led by Black Hand and Necron, and they are the Black Lanterns, and they can only be stopped by what becomes the White Lantern Corps. And these are mainly made up of heroes that are still alive now, like Hal Jordan and Barry Allen, but who had been dead in the past. Superman also included.
Okay.
So someone who had died in the DC Comics canon in the past but was resurrected at some point, they become the original White Lantern Corps at the end of the storyline and are able to overtake this. But they don't hold on to that power. Once the battle's over, the white entity, angel-looking thing, takes that power back, but chooses to resurrect 12 heroes and villains that were still dead, that had just been Black Lanterns, chooses these 12 and brings them back to life and gives them basically a new purpose. And this leads into a different story. It's called Brightest Day. And the Brightest Day storyline kind of trickled into all the other comics as well. But we see basically the story of these 12 individuals brought back to life being used to fix something on Earth, or to save someone's life, or to fix this city, fix this, defeat this villain, things that wouldn't have been able to happen without these 12 brought back. And some of them continue to live on, some of them die again. But what was so beautiful about that story to me, the blackest night through brightest day, is how it wasn't just heroes brought back. This white entity, this entity of life, this entity of what's supposed to encapsulate all things good, essentially a replacement for God and heaven and angels and things of that nature, chooses to bring back not just the good guys, but some bad guys as well, and give them a new goal, a new direction,
a redemption,
to do good.
Yeah.
And not all of them take the redemption. Some of them do. And it's such a good parallel for people who feel like they've been both.
Right.
Both a villain and a hero at different parts of their life. I definitely one of them. I think if we're honest, all believers feel like we've been that way before, and still do fluctuate from time to time between, am I doing good? Am I doing bad? Am I being selfish? Am I being, selfless? Am I being righteous? Am I being unrighteous? What am I letting guide my heart? Is it Jesus? Is it my own selfish desires? And this story basically reinforced as an allegory the idea that, yeah, of course, none of us are going to be perfect all the time. None of us are going to be righteous all the time, and we're going to go through these seasons, and God still can use us to do something bigger than we can imagine. He did it time and time again with literally everybody in the Bible who came to him, who was willing to be used by God. And that just stuck with me as something beautiful that I don't even know if Jeff Johns intended. But God sure did. and and so I had already been going back to the music side now, I had already been doing music for a long time. In fact, the founder of Love Thy Nerd, Bubba Stalkup, and I went to the same high school, junior high, and we started doing music together in high school. And from the beginning, it had always been just like a fun thing. And we gave away every bit of music that we made for free. And most of it was garbage, but there were a few really good ones.
I got you.
Even to this day, I'm like, this is pretty good. And it's always just been that's my release. Everybody has like their one big hobby that they need in their life to just like, I need to go do this for a little while and feel better. And so I make music when I have free time, when I need to get out of my head, or when I need to take a break from all the serious work, which most of my work isn't all that serious anyway, but it can become tedious. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm sure it can be heavy too.
And so sometimes, and so music has been my way out. So I've never made music in an attempt to make a career out of it or make money or anything. I put all my stuff up for free on YouTube and Dropbox links for anyone that wants to listen to it. Who cares? I have no interest, desire, or pull to use it any other way. It's just been, this is my outlet, and if it blesses somebody else, that's great.
Kind
of thing. But I have latched on to White Lantern ever since that storyline came out, because it fueled my soul in a way that I needed at the time in my life. I also have it on my arm there.
There it is.
But it sticks with me for,
that's cool,
all the time. The time.
Cool. I think there's I think of books that I've read or movies that I've watched, and there's these little nuggets. Hector Mirai does a great job of finding those and pulling them out. But there's been several where, that I don't know if that line was meant to make the impact it does, but man, That was a good one. Actually, my last Bible thump was one of those lines from Sojourn, R.A. Salvatore book. I don't know that R.A. Salvatore is a Christian. He's writing Dungeons and Dragons books. I don't think they're meant to be Christian, but there was a line in there that a character said, and I was like, golly, I don't have tattoos, but that might be on the list. That might be on the list. That was a good one. Oh man, no, that's cool. I love that. You look for things that you love, and we were talking about Fallout yesterday. Another friend of mine. And we're like, how do we redeem this story that highlights how people can be wicked when no one's in control? And like, how do we as Christians go, we enjoy this? Why do we enjoy this? And so, but it's great to hear that and see that you go, man, this right here, you know, every story that's ever told still points back to Jesus. You know, we want to see redemption. We want to see second and third and fourth and fifth chances. And so I wrote those down. I will have to read those. I did a episode with another Matt of LTN, and we were talking about Multiple Man, and we got done talking, and I was like, adding this to my list, and so I'll add those in there too.
That dude is all about Multiple Man. My goodness.
And listen, and I don't know if you caught that episode when I put it out there, but listening to why, I was like, I love him too. I love him too. Sounds good. I'm in. Yeah. Sounds good.
It just seems like such an obscure hero to latch onto. I've never heard of anybody else, but I understand it.
But that's 100% Warm Beer Man. That's the 100%. Yeah. Like he's going to pick that no one else has heard of this, and this is why it's my favorite. I mean, come on, the dude is like GameCube. That's what all I'm playing is GameCube from now for the rest of my life. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about those storylines, and maybe this storyline will answer that question. But the other question, next question I sent you was, what Lantern movie do you want to see made? So what arc storyline do you go, man, this is what I want to see?
So in that original intro that we were talking about, where I was losing my mind of all the different directions I could talk about Green Lantern. What killed Green Lantern's push as a character was the movie. And it makes me so sad because I know the movie wasn't perfect. And I went in knowing that they were going to have to try and condense the decades of Hal Jordan's storyline from the origin and the not reboot, but relaunch of his character after he comes back from the dead, and make some sort of cohesive 2 hours, to get us up to where we want to be, because we want to be at Sinestro Corps, and because that was the most popular Green Lantern, I think still is the most popular Green Lantern comic series ever, best-selling. Is the Sinestro Corps War. And they gave it their best shot. and just like you said, I'm very forgiving of movies. I'm very forgiving of most media. Honestly, the stance that I took on Doctor Who is probably my hardest stance that I have. Like I'm very forgiving on things. Right. And I saw all the greatness in that movie. Right. I saw all the things that were leading up to the sequel, because once we got through that first movie, there's no more catch up, there's no more cramming together. No more info. We're where we needed to be for an amazing film, an amazing sequel. If they'd have just stuck with it for just one more film. But DC's movies have been so hit or miss and so lackluster when it comes to commitment to what they're going to do. And that's where we first saw it. Green Lantern, that film, and this speaks to the popularity of Green Lantern. Green Lantern was supposed to be Iron Man. Iron Man was not the most popular character in Marvel Comics. They picked him saying, let's see what we can do with this character and see if it'll get something off the ground. Green Lantern was supposed to kick off the DC cinematic universe.
It did not.
Wasn't any Iron Man. So, which is a bummer.
So
anyway,
this isn't one of the questions I gave you, but if you could make 3 changes to that movie to make it successful, what 3 changes are you making to that movie?
Number 1, we don't need Hector Hammond right away. We don't need big brain, big head guy.
Okay.
He's a classic villain of Hal Jordan. I get it. He's also really gross to look at, and he is in the movie, and he's even more gross in the comic books. And the storyline with Hector Hammond has never been all that compelling, and we should have just stuck with the parallax angle and just focused more heavily on that and building up the angle there. Secondly, yeah, you know what? We don't need CGI suits. We didn't need that. They've been making so many superhero movies before that felt just as believable with normal fabric suits.
Yeah.
I understand that in the comic books, they are created through the rings. They're not actual fabric, but we can make them more believable.
Yeah.
We don't have to make them look like torn green tendons. Lastly, I think having getting towards I was about to say that probably wouldn't have worked either. I was about to say jump forward with Sinestro a little further, but we could have done that.
Yeah.
If we'd have seen if we'd have gotten rid of Hector Hammond and just had more scenes with Sinestro.
Yeah.
And showing where his loyalties were starting to wane, that would have been great. But yeah, there's probably a million things that could have been done to make that movie better. But at the same time, it was almost an impossible task what they had to do. I think probably the best thing would have been to do what they're about to do with the series, I believe.
Right.
Is not even do the origin.
Yeah.
Just jump in.
Yeah.
We can fill in the blanks as we go.
Right.
Like they've done with Spider-Man in the MCU.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we didn't have to do the whole origin story again.
Right.
That we jump in. He's already been Spider-Man for a while.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point with the Green Lanterns, I think, we get it.
Yeah.
Dying alien, ring picked him. All right, he's a space cop.
There you go.
That's the storyline. That's all we need. But anyway, the movie that I want to see is Sinestro Corps War, and then I really, this would assume that it was a DC extended universe. I really would have loved to see an Avengers in-game level Blackest Night storyline.
Yeah.
A DC Comics zombie horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
With all of the Justice League and every hero that they could pull out of any corner of the universe. Oh man, it would have been great. The whole DC movie thing has just been such a high and low.
Yeah.
But in the end, let down. I wanted it to be so good.
Yeah.
I really did like the Snyder Cut Justice League.
I did too.
I'm like, man,
I did too.
The way that ended, I'd love to see the other two parts that he had planned.
Yep, I ended up going back and watching the director's cut of Dawn of Justice because I heard that it was similar.
Love that too.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I agree. I'm like, yes, it's
so much better. This was Warner getting his hands just too deep into the creative process and ripping things out, saying, they don't care. They don't care about the storyline making sense.
No,
these are nerds.
If you have not,
if
you watch Justice League,
deep into lore.
Yeah, if you watch Justice League, the studio release, and you have not watched Snyder Cut, go and watch it. It is a long movie, but they break it down into 8 episodes. And so what I did with my wife, who is not nearly as interested to watch it all in one sitting, is we watched an episode a night, and we got to the end, and she said, that is a much better story. So if you have not watched that, there's a black and white version and a colored version. Just watch a colored version. I don't know who needs the stylistic black and white. I don't get that at all.
Black and white's all, the artsy fartsy nonsense.
But check it out because it really I thought it told a much better story. It actually made me want to watch the Flash movie because the Flash was so whiny in the studio cut and just a weenie. And anyways,
he was much better in the
much better.
Yeah,
much better. Everybody was.
Flash movie was okay. Have you not seen the Flash movie?
I have seen it. I did an article on it for LTN. Come on, man. Of course I watched it. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
It was all right.
It was all right. It's okay. There were some nuggets.
Yeah. Not as good as I wanted it to be, but that's been the cry with pretty much every DC movie.
So I have a question that came to mind, and so with Parallax, with Hal Jordan becoming Parallax, how would that have worked sticking to the comics in the movie with Parallax showing up there? Does that make sense?
Look,
What am I missing?
if they wanted to, I guess it would come down to what story they wanted to tell. I actually would have loved, now that you mentioned that, to see the run up, to see an actual origin of the original origin story of Green Lantern, leading into, the third movie being basically he gets overtaken by Parallax and becomes this villain, and then leading into new movies about why that actually happened. The way the way that Jeff Johns explained why that happened after leaving that story dormant for over a decade, with Hal Jordan being dead, and they never really answering how he became Parallax and why and all that. There wouldn't have been a way for them to do both of those. So it would either be starting with that, ending with Parallax, or starting with the Parallax entity existing and ending with Blackest Night, I feel like. But yeah, and I'm not sure you could marry those two stories together. It would be too big.
Yeah, I got you.
Too big.
Well, let's make it a little more personal here. So my understanding of Green Lantern is that the rings choose the wearer, and it's usually based on either their strongest emotion or their greatest capacity, which is why Hal was chosen for willpower. And so, with that being said, you are in the DC universe, and a ring is going to choose you. What ring is choosing Matt Coker? And maybe it's not one that exists. Maybe you got to invent your own core now. So, what do you think? What ring would choose you?
100% it wouldn't be willpower.
I'm with you on that one, man. I am with you on that one. I hear you.
I don't have that strength. I don't stand up to fear very well. But I would say probably, this gets into sounding like I'm tooting my own horn, so I'm not trying to do that. But I would probably say the Indigo Tribes. Sorry, I have them all up on the wall.
I figured you're looking at something on the wall and not praying that the Lord would give you the answer.
The Indigo, Lord. The Indigo Tribe, which is compassion. That's not been my strength for most of my life, but it really has been in the last decade to maybe 8 to 10 years. My heart in a lot of areas has changed. I've changed a lot. There was a weird period of time where I was a Red Lantern for a while. I was rage just was taken over. My dad was really angry all the time, and that stemmed from his own sense of failure that he had. As he was a big shot radio guy at ABC News Radio in New York.
Okay.
Like he was big in that. He was so good that he's like, I can do this on my own. And so he went out and he was starting his own radio stations. And it was after several years of him running his own radio stations that I was actually born. I was born 10 years after my next brother. I was a surprise. But I was born at the time where the radio stations were failing, and we were going bankrupt. He felt like a failure, but didn't want to talk to anybody about it.
Right.
This is all stuff I learned much later in my life. But that caused him to have very little interaction with me and my mom, and the interactions that he did have was just very angry. Not violent, but just angry.
Yeah.
And it's just because he hated existing. He felt like a failure. He felt like he was bringing his family down. He felt like he shouldn't have ever left New York and all this kind of stuff. And I never saw that in me until a few years before we started having kids, and then kids made it worse
Right.
for a little bit. But after acclimating to that and having a few bad outbursts with people that I know, including just one really embarrassing story from a trip I was leading. where I just talked to an entire team of people from my church like they were toddlers. That was like the last thing that I'm like, oh gosh, I need to be humbled really badly at this point. And that was a very humbling experience the day after.
Yes.
And yeah, so I prayed fervently, and I apologized to everybody I could remember of hurting, and I just had to have a change of heart, and luckily God granted that to me. I'm not going to say I never struggle with anger
Of
anymore,
course.
but I do tend to find it easier to put myself in the other person's shoes now. And that has actually translated to God using me in my home church. Because like I said, right now we're surrounded by everybody in my own age group, which has never been the case before, including the pastor now, who wasn't the pastor a year ago. And we these last few years, 5 years or so, I've become known as the mediator,
Okay.
the guy that's able to calm people down and not let little misunderstandings or
Yeah.
arguments that
Yeah.
happen be the end of relationships and end of ministries and things. I've been able to help people who are fuming and ready to go sock someone in the jaw see what the other person might have been meaning to do and
Right.
did poorly, or helping them understand the situation that they're in right now. Maybe they're dealing with something and they're just not in a mental state to react correctly, and these are things that you might not know. And
Yeah.
if we could just take some time to breathe, I think we could realize we could probably make this a little easier on everybody and mend some fences before we do something we can't take back. And I'm grateful that I have that role most of the time. I also hate that I have that role a lot of
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
because I don't I don't necessarily like drama, and I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But that's typically how God works. If there's something that you're able to finally surrender to him in your life, he'll usually use you as the example for other people to be like, hey, I was like this once. Here's how we can be better.
That's right. That's right.
And yeah, so that is equally humbling every time it comes up, and also a blessing and an honor. So
There you go.
Indigo Tribe.
So we need to get you an indigo ring to
Purple,
wear
or violet.
in your counseling sessions. You can just like slip that on and like.
Oh, I've
here we
got all the rings. You can't see them. I got all.
There you go. Just take it,
9
slip
of
it
the
on.
rings
Here I
right
am.
there.
That's my job right now. No, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if I'm thinking about what end of the spectrum, I'm definitely feel like, sadly, it would be in the Roy end of the spectrum, the red, orange, yellow. You know, the anger, the greed, the fear. I think anger and fear are a lot of times are intertwined. That
Sure.
we lash out with anger when we're scared that something's not going to happen. I think that's one of the reasons why having kids, I'm right there with you, why you get so angry, because there's this fear that's just kind of there, that if I mess this up or this kid messed this up or what, like there's a lot that's in there. I have to laugh and cry for myself a lot with the level of pride that I struggle with, of thinking that I am greater than I am, you know. So I don't know what color that would fall under, but it's not going to be a good one. It's not going to be a good one, you know. But I think you're right. I think that coming from with a gift that the Lord has given me, and in a pastoral nature, but also with the counseling that I've needed to go through to deal with anger in my childhood and past, and I think that it has built a more compassionate piece of me. Now, would I off the bat think that is my emotional, my greatest emotional capacity? No, I would not think that. But I think the Lord is growing that in me out of what I was, that anger, that fear, that greed, that avarice. That is definitely that's right here. So no, I think that's a beautiful story, well told. That yes, I think I'm right there with you. That That or hope. I could see hope. I'm usually a glass half full kind of guy. Like, let's just go ahead and assume that they're definitely going to do the right thing, and then I'll get let down again. But it is. I think maybe I would fall there. That I it's not naivete. That I really want the best, and I think that the best will happen a lot of times. I have my moments. Definitely. All right. Well, let's get to the fun part. The fun part is we have a ring. It works, and we can use it to do stuff. And so, for those that don't know, the Lantern Corps creates things called constructs. They're made with the color light of their ring to accomplish their purposes. So, in the Green Lantern movie, it was a Hot Wheels track with a car that drove around and rescued somebody. Cool. There surely would have been.
The movie was actually very accurate to what they do in the comics. They're always weird things, and it's fun. But people got real mad at that.
I didn't know that they were that complex. Like in the Justice League cartoon, they were always very simple constructs. It was an anvil, it was a bubble, it was a brick wall. Like it wasn't things with moving pieces and whatever else. And so, so maybe that was it. Maybe they were in my camp, and all they saw was the Green Lantern in the cartoon, and he didn't do those things. Maybe John Stewart was weak with his constructs. I don't know. Although I've read several comics with John Stewart where he creates sniper rifles and bullets. So I mean,
he's like the architect.
Yeah,
he can build whole cities perfectly. He's really good with constructs.
So talking about constructs, I gave us three scenarios, things that we would do to use constructs for. The first one is to make a mundane chore easier, the thing that you really don't enjoy. What construct are you using to make it better?
So I'm a stay-at-home dad. I work 2 jobs, but I'm a stay-at-home dad. My wife is brilliant and makes most of our money because she knows what she's doing. And so I do a lot of chores.
Yeah.
And there are so many that I would like to not do at all. And so what they have proven, Larfleeze, Agent Orange, creates an entire corps, entire army out of his ring that fights, exists physically. And even Guy Gardner in a couple comics has created people with his construct that do things. And so I think just make a construct version of myself doing the chores that doesn't have to feel the pain of it.
I like it. That's good. I don't
have to have anything weird, scare the children.
That's good. That's good.
That's just Daddy's ghost over there doing the dishes.
So, Carrie, my wife, she was a nurse from the time that we got married, and so when we had kids, shift work. There's 3 days a week where I'm a single dad, and so I do a lot of chores as well. My mother gave me a really wise piece of advice. So any of you that are listening that are not married, she told me, I don't remember how old I was, she said, women only have so much energy. They can spend it doing chores or they can spend it doing other things. And I was like, got it, Mom. Appreciate that. Check.
Truth, though. Truth.
So
100% truth.
So do some chores, gentlemen. Let's see. Which one do I enjoy the least? I think the one that I enjoy the least is definitely cleaning the bathroom. I don't like cleaning the bathroom. I get it. It needs to be done. It's a contained space.
That's the one chore I don't get to do because my wife doesn't like the way I do it.
Well, there you go. Sorry, hon. Go for it. And so I don't know. I think if I could drop a bathroom bomb and it just blows up the whole bathroom and it's clean, that would be fantastic. I don't know that would work, but just...
You could manifest the scrubbing bubbles mascots and or Mr. Clean.
Yes, all those things.
Just manifest them all. Just go take care of that.
I like it. I'll do that. All right. So number 2, avoid a traffic jam. How are you going to avoid a traffic jam with a construct?
So I was thinking you could just wrap your car wrap your car with a giant drone.
Okay.
Right.
There you go.
And just turn your manifest some. Steering knobs on your steering wheel and just float up and zoom ahead. I think that would be perfect.
You know, to live my video game dream, though, I would want a ramp. I want to drive a ramp, like just something, you know, like that's just, I just wanted to like take it off a ramp to go across something. So maybe ramps and pads over and over again. But I do like the drone idea as well. The last one.
Get those mushrooms from Mario Kart
Yes.
that bounce.
Yes.
Just
Perfect. Last one is to impress the boys. What are you doing to impress the boys?
Oh, all of my actual in-person friends are not nearly as nerdy as I am. And so I guess some sports trophies.
Okay.
I have 2 trophies back here. One is the Love Thy Nerd 26-hour a day award.
There you go.
And one is an office trivia award.
Perfect.
But I have had no sports trophies, nothing physical since
Nice.
I was in Little League. So
Nice. A green.
throw a couple, wrestling trophies or something up there, just so they know that
Maybe
I can hang.
Maybe a construct of a basketball that does exactly what you want it to do, and it's just trick shot after trick shot after trick shot. You know,
That's been a genie. That's been a 3 wishes thing. You always fantasize. If I found a genie in the past, I remember like, what if I never miss?
There you go.
What
There
if I
you
just,
go.
no matter what I do, no matter how I could throw it the opposite direction, somehow I make it.
Perfect. Yes.
That would be great.
No, I like those. Yeah, I think again with the whole ramp for me impressing the boys, I want a vehicle and ramps and fire and all those things. Just
So you want to go full
yes.
hot rod?
Oh
out here.
yeah,
You want to go
that'd be-
Evil Knievel?
Listen, I drive a
That would be pretty
minivan,
cool.
so yes, I definitely.
I was
want
thinking
something
too
different.
small. Yeah.
Yep.
was thinking too
All those
small.
things. All right. Oh, and this last question was not for you. I'm like, what does that have to do? That was a different one I forgot to delete, so I'll delete that one now.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm sure you're wondering what the heck does that even mean. All right.
Oh, I don't even think I have it. So
You may not. I may have edited it and deleted it. It says, what is
Okay.
something amazing that Ghost Machine could do? And
no, that's not on my
yeah,
end.
yeah.
So.
So all right, so let's talk about Love Thy Nerd. So in the background you've got your Love Thy Nerd poster wall painting.
It's actually wood. My father-in-law cut that for me.
Nice.
Painted this wall, nice ombre for the pink into the blue.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
So
He helped me design that.
tell me about your role at LTN, and why that role resonates with you. Like why you're like this. I enjoy this so much so that it's what I do at my first job, and now it's what I do at my next job. So let's start there. Let's start there and talk about what you do at LTN and why you love it.
So I am the director of content and resources, which is a fancy way of saying the media guy. From my nerd, I get to oversee both the articles section, which luckily I have help there because I'm not the best at that part. But I also oversee all of our podcast network, our YouTube videos. I do a lot of the editing and stuff myself. And then what got me into my foot into the door of Love Thy Nerd was LTN Radio. I had been running a Christian radio station myself online already for about 2 years. And as we were approaching kind of the end of the ministry that was behind that, I had approached Bubba like, what do y'all think about having a radio station?
Right. Yeah.
Because it would have been as simple as just rebranding it, and suddenly it's LTN's radio station. And so I was very, very grateful that the team then said, that's not something we ever thought we would have, but that sounds kind of cool. Gave them an opportunity or another outlet to put the podcast network on as well. And gives us an opportunity to use that for special events and live events and Christmas time, have something to pump out all this music that a lot of people don't, even Christians don't know exists still. You got most people have K-Love Family Life Radio, and that's all they know, and they're fine, they're great, not trying to crap on them at all, but there's so much more.
Right. Yeah.
And it's all really, really good now. And so we pump out the Christian rock, rap, pop, and indie, as well as the talk programming for LTN. And that's how I got started. And I did what I always do with these kind of jobs, and I just gave 110%, 26-hour workday. And when the positions came available, they asked me to step in to do content and resources as a whole. And I've never been over 100 people before
Yeah.
in a leadership
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
So it's been challenging at times, but it is very rewarding because this is my skill set. This is what I enjoy doing, even in the tough times when it's kind of a slog. Just getting something out and seeing it up and seeing people, like it and share it and talk
Yeah.
about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's life giving enough for me to go another week and do
Nice.
another
Very nice. Yeah.
batch of these. Yeah, and again, that's what I do at my church as well as content media kind of stuff, and it's what God has gifted me with. It's what I've kind of been working at my whole life, not
Yeah.
really knowing I was doing that, but I was building websites when I was in seventh grade and learning HTML, teaching myself HTML when I was young, and it's just that's never left me.
Okay.
And the radio bit, of course, is tied into my family and my grandfather, my father, both of them were in radio and spent their whole life in radio, and I've always had a soft spot in my heart for it, and I really love running the radio station. So
Nice.
all of that's good.
Very nice. So, what do you have a milestone, a goal for this area that you go, man, I would love to see this in the future. Like this is it could be a huge pie in the sky goal, or it could just be like, this is my attainable this year, I'm wanting this to happen kind of goal. Where are you at?
So this is difficult, and I find these kind of questions in general, when it comes to working in Love Thy Nerd and ministry and all that, harder for me to answer because sometimes I don't feel like I'm so much on the ministry side as I am on the fun side.
Okay.
And we got Luke and Matt and Bubba going to conventions,
Right.
and getting out there, actually being a part of this, and my stuff, while it can speak into the hearts of people and it can inspire folks, I don't really get to see that kind of stuff. I don't really get interactions with people, and so I want to give you an answer that's very holy and very
No.
I want to do this and see all these people just immediately come to Jesus and all this, but really all I'm thinking about is content.
Yeah.
And
No.
it sounds a little lackluster in the vein of a ministry, but if we can get past that, this year, just last month, I got to do something that I had been kicking around for a long time, and that was run an ARG, an augmented reality game.
Yeah.
This big online puzzle clues, a storyline that I wrote that was unraveled piece by piece as they put all these people put all these clues together. Last year, or now, almost a year and a half ago, at a staff meeting, I had brought it up to Bubba and said, "Hey, I think this would be a good idea." And he said, "That's great. You'd have to start laying pieces for it now. Go ahead." And then I never brought it up again. And so none of the staff knew that it was coming. Nobody else knew it was coming. I pieced together painstakingly from clips of old Humans of Gaming podcasts, that is a long defunct show, to create this fake lost episode that dropped out of nowhere, and that was the starting point, and that's where we ramp up. And I had planned for it to take like 2 weeks, and everybody was so ravenous for the next part of the story that it was done in 6 days or 7 days. And so my goal now is to make a real massive one.
Okay.
In the near future.
Nice.
One now that I'll have the whole staff with me, because like I said, none of them knew. It was just all me building it to be fun, because I wanted them to be a part of it too. And so now we're thinking about what it could look like in the future to get the community, all of the community involved. Because again, the nature of this dropping it out of nowhere is, if you weren't there on the night that it dropped, if you didn't notice that it dropped, you were behind. And if you're behind, you're probably not jumping in.
Yeah.
And so, the next time we're thinking about big of, a countdown of, hey, we'll release this one thing, and then it's got a countdown starting in 7 days, something else is going to happen, and that's going to be the real kickoff. And so we've got this big idea and 1,000 little mini ideas of what it could be, but no clue where to start yet. That's what it's going to be. But that's my current goal
no, I
is
love
to
it.
have this massive community wide event that reaches all the different areas of LTN and gives us that feel of the good part of 2020,
Yeah.
where all of us got online and we're doing everything
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
Like that was those were some of the life-giving moments of the pandemic, is coming together online and doing something cool. So we want to plan for that and make this big community event. So that is my
Perfect.
current goal. I'm
Nice.
sure I have 1,000 others
No,
that I
that's
like
good.
to see, but that's the one most forefront on my mind right now.
So I heard the pieces on the free play, one of the last episodes, free play podcast, and then I saw the YouTube video and I was like, "What is this?" And I clicked. I was like, "Oh, that's Matt's voice. This is Matt." And so I was like, "Got it. This is a joke. Perfect, or not a joke, but this isn't this nefarious thing that's come out of left field or whatever." But I want to go back and check it. I want to go back.
They're
and
not really being hounded.
Yes, I'm going. What the heck is going on? Yeah.
I have released, if you haven't seen, once it was over, I put together a massive documentary. It's like 2 hours long, but showcasing every part, every piece, every hidden video, all the podcast clips and blogs and how the puzzles worked and all that. I've got it all laid out really neatly. So if anyone wants to see that, they can go to the Love Thy Nerd YouTube channel and watch it. It's called There Were Always Seven.
Yes.
The storyline is essentially there is a lost founder of LTN. Like there was famously, we had six founders when it started, and this is someone who was a founder and has somehow disappeared from all of our memory and even is missing from photographs and is trying to claw his way back. It is a beautifully done story, if I do say so myself.
I know what I'm doing tomorrow. All right, so fantastic. Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming on, man. And what I think we'll have to do is I'm going to read these Green Lantern storylines, and then we'll have to be back on and talk about the specific storyline, and we'll talk about those things. If you're game, I'm assuming you're game to talk about
100%. 100%. We want to get deeper into it. The whole Jeff Johns run starts with Green Lantern Rebirth, and runs through. This is how. Oh, sorry, just one last thing, and I wanted to mention this at some point. The Green Lantern storyline that Jeff Johns did was so well received and so good that it ran through the New 52 relaunch and basically changed nothing. Almost every other comic series
was reset and changed,
rebooted.
Yeah.
New origins, all this. Green Lantern, you don't even notice it happen. Other than their suits have a couple more lines on them, like all the other suits did.
Right.
And then it did what no comic series does, no popular comic series does anyway, the one that they're expecting to go on forever. There's an end. Jeff Johns wrote an ending to the entire storyline. Now, it became non-canon when the next guy picked it up and it's like, all right, we're going to keep going. But you can stop.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I've read more Green Lantern stuff, but I'm not buying them.
Yeah.
I have the ending of the story, and it's a beautiful ending. And that never happens. It's called The End, and it is a massive trade paperback or hardcover. And I've never felt more complete than owning this just 10-year thing of beauty for Jeff Johns' run leading the storyline.
Nice. No, I'm in. Well, man, I appreciate it. We'll have to have you on again soon.
I would love it.
If someone wanted to find you on Instagram, on social media in general, where would they go?
If I exist on a social media platform, it'll be at Radio Matt LTN.
Okay.
I don't exist on all of them. I think I'm on X. Yeah, I'm on X. I think I'm on Instagram, but I don't really post there. I'm not active on Facebook outside of the LTN community. I don't really care for social media.
I hear you.
That much anymore. It just takes up too much of my time. I got too much to do.
No, I hear you.
But
we had
you can find.
You're good. I'm sorry.
You can find my personal music and stuff also at YouTube with that same handle at Radio Matt LTN. That's probably the most updates you'll get from me.
Awesome.
Outside of the LTN community.
Fantastic. Thanks, man. Well, I'll have you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Getting to talk with Matt Coker from Love Thy Nerd. Go check out all the amazing things that they're doing at lovethynerd.com. And especially take a look at the podcast. Matt puts a lot of hard work into making sure that network runs smoothly. So before we get into our closing, want to give you a State of the Union / State of the Next Gen Nerd and kind of what we're going to be looking at this year. Last year, did not get as much done here as I wanted to. And so I really wanted to do a couple things. I want to set a goal first. And my goal for the year is 18 episodes. That's not one a month. That's not two a month. It's kind of somewhere in between. And I really want to say we can definitely get one every other week. But I want to shoot for 18. I think it's a good, solid, healthy goal. 18 good episodes. We may get more in. We may get close to that. But I really want to shoot for 18. So that's my goal. 18 episodes this year. Some of the things that we've got in discussion, I've got a episode on time travel that I'm working on with my brother Sean. I want to reach out to friend of the show, Todd Turner. There's a new comic coming out. It's like Godzilla and there's a bank heist or something like that. And I really feel like it's just a rehash of Kaiju Score. And so I want to talk to him about that, see what he thinks about that. My brother-in-law, Rocky, gave me Sun Tzu's The Art of War, the graphic novel edition. He's like, can we do an episode on this? And I said, yes, we can. So things like that. And there's several others that I really want to reach out to that I haven't been able to spend time with and get some good episodes. So I want to get 18 good, solid episodes this year. So that's my goal. That's my goal. So that's the goal. We had a Comic-Con, a Burroughs Con here in December. If you are following me on Instagram, I'm going to go ahead and post that picture today of our costumed guests. They were basically my family, loved me very well and dressed up in some fantastic costumes. And so I'm going to post that picture on my Instagram at NextGen Nerd check that out. So if you at NextGen_Nerd. I was like, that doesn't sound right. At NextGen_Nerd. Check that out. If you have not already followed me, you can see a picture there. But we had a great time. So much so that we want to do that again, but less crazy. We try to squeeze a lot in 12 hours. And so Mrs. Nerd said it would be really good for us to focus on one event. Having a lot of board game time, just open board game time or movie time, but one event. And so I think she's right. And so, because she usually is. Actually, she always is. That's what a wise man should say. So we're going to be doing that again. So keep tuned to the podcast. We'll mention when those things are and have some little tournament action, little things going on here at the Bros Compound. And would love to have you guys join us there. Last thing I want to share, or two things. One is the word of the year. My word of the year is focus. I really want to be focused on the things that are important. I can get very distracted with my personality. And focus doesn't mean always productive. I know that there's times where we need to have a break and to relax and to unwind. But I want to have focus so that when I'm unwinding, I'm doing it well, so that I can work hard when I'm not unwinding. So that's the word of the year. And the verse of the year is several verses. Psalm 62, verses 5 through 8. I was in church last Sunday, and this psalm kind of was just put heavy on my heart. And so, real heavy. And so, looking at it, these are some that verses I want to hold on to. And so I'm just going to trust the Lord that He put that on my heart for a reason. And so I'm going to focus on these things and do it. So Psalm 62, verses 5 through 8. This is the NIV. It says, "Yes, my soul find rest in God. My hope comes from Him. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken. My salvation and my honor depend on God. He is my mighty rock, my refuge. Trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts to Him, for God is our refuge." And so I'm really hoping that that's going to be my mantra this year, my verse this year, my goal this year, to be focused, to trust in Him, to have Him as my refuge. And I'm looking forward to this next year with you guys. So I just want to thank you for spending some time with us again. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Not sure what it is yet. It may be a Burroughs, a Next Gen Nerd only episode. I might bring up my nerdlings and talk about a couple things that they may have got for Christmas. Not sure yet. We'll figure that out. But you don't want to miss it. Don't miss it. I'm hoping it'll be in the next 2 weeks so we can keep on track for that 18 episodes. That's what I'm wanting to do. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe. We're gonna be doing a giveaway here soon, and it's gonna be subscribers and reviewers only. So make sure that you are subscribing on YouTube and making sure you're reviewing. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars and leave a review, and that would be excellent. And so you can also head over to nextgennerd.com and share any episode of the show you find that you might like. And if you make a comment on anything or share a review, I will read it on the show. And there are a couple comments from our last episode 2 months ago. I had to sit there and think what they meant. One was Galaxy Quest, ? And I think it was because we did the crossover crew where we took sitcom and put them on a starship, and they said it was basically Galaxy Quest, and I agree, it was basically Galaxy Quest. Very similar feel. And the other was a friend of my mom's who was glad my mom was on the show and said she was looking pretty, lady. So thank you for that comment. Yeah, I think that is just about all of it. Yeah, there's stuff in the show notes, so check those out. If you want even more Next Gen Nerd, you can find me on Instagram at nextgen_nerd, or on Twitter, or X, which I never use, but if you want to follow me there because you're just a kind soul, it's at nextgen_nerd. And I think that's it for this episode. So until next time.
Peace out, Seacrest.